Do you spend millions on R&D? Do your R&D efforts feel like there is lots of activity, but progress is painfully slow? Do the efforts yield beaucoup breakthroughs or incremental advancements? Are you worried about your IP being circumvented by a competitor? If any of these are issues for your organization, we can accelerate progress, make breakthroughs more common, and lock competitors out forever. Any good set of assembly instructions starts with a list of the tools and outlines the required task. Number one, nothing's going to happen without consistent and persistent leadership. This leadership starts in the executive suite. Number two, and it percolates down through the R&D team. Humans hate change. The only thing they hate more is transformation. If R&D management does not recognize the need for change, you cannot complete the required assembly. Number three, in a few moments, I'm going to start to disassemble teams into their constituent individuals. Don't worry, we'll put them back together again, but in a new and different way. I think you'll like this new flavor of teamwork. Let's start by examining who and what makes inventors inventors. Consider this nonlinear conceptual cleverness scale and the population histogram of human beings. On the left axis, undifferentiated human cells in the womb and a box of rocks share a cleverness of 0. On the right are the tens, the cleverest among us. For R&D, we only hire people on the right. Our education system does a decent job of separating the 7 pluses from the 7 minuses. Further, our hiring processes filter for cleverness along with other human dimensions. While cleverness does not equal IQ, high intelligence is a requirement for exceptional cleverness. Besides IQ, what is required to approach a 10 on the cleverness scale? I'll share that with you shortly, but first, we need 2 kinds of skill sets in the R&D group. Let's zoom in on that R&D population. Practitioners reduce ideas to practice. Inventors deliver the miracle of creation. The ratio of practitioners to inventors in the population is a very large number, perhaps 100 to 1. The ratio you need in your organization is much lower, but varies greatly depending upon your product portfolio. One thing is certain though, nobody has too many inventors. Reflect upon your R&D organization. How many actual inventors do you have compared to those who reduce inventions to practice? Have you ever wished that you could clone your most prolific inventor? Of course you have. How can we mentor minions to masters? There are dozens of books and articles written about how to be creative, but no roadmap to being clever enough to practice the miracle of creation. Don't worry, I'm going to provide a glimpse of that roadmap. In a sort of prologue to part 2 of John Steinbeck's East of Eden, he writes, "Nothing was ever created by 2 men. There are no good collaborations, whether in music, in art, in poetry, in mathematics, in philosophy. Once the miracle of creation has taken place, the group can build and extend it, but the group never invents anything. The preciousness lies in the lonely mind of a man." I can confirm Steinbeck's assertion. With 41 patents granted and about a dozen pending, I am in the 99.9 percentile of inventors. Share this quote with your inventors over a cocktail and get their take. This inventor invents Steinbeck's miracle of creation. Practitioners reduce the invention to practice. This is Steinbeck's build and extend. But who does the IP thing? Lawyers get paid no matter what. In most organizations, outside lawyers perform the bulk of this work. We desire broad and robust claims. Patents and the patenting process are opaque, hidden behind peculiar language. We previously recognized that IP lawyers may not be best suited to author the claims. Inventors don't want to be bothered, and in a way, you don't want them to be bothered either. After all, they could be inventing. But tough cookies, a shortcut should not be applied to this step. Who is the best position in your organization to direct IP strategy? Whoever that person is, they need a direct hand in the drafting of the claims. Strategy and claims are inextricably interlinked. Contemplate a metaphor. The king of this castle has protected his kingdom with 5 lines of defense. At my last gig, we created 7 independent lines of defense. That firm continues to enjoy a multi-decade global monopoly. Ponder this question. How many lines of defense do you need? Before you answer, please recognize that nobody has ever lost sleep because they possess too many lines of defense. But how does one accomplish this? To answer this question, we must first consider the 3 elements required for a successful invention. Novelty is self-evident, but often trickier than it seems with the patent examiner. Obviousness can be a problem, as many great inventions are obvious after they are revealed. Who has not said, "Why didn't I think of that?" In my 41 for 41 successful patent prosecutions, I have had to travel twice to Alexandria, Virginia, to overcome an examiner's erroneous assertion of obviousness. The second element, desirability, means the customer must want to buy it at a price that is mutually attractive. The third element, workability, means that we must be able to build it and it must work for the intended purpose. Don't be like Theranos. The product must actually work. The first prototype almost never works right out of the box. Making it work, reducing the idea to practice, usually requires more novelty, more effort. That is a burden for sure. You must go back to go without collecting $200 and invent some more stuff. The workability loop also creates 2 great opportunities often overlooked or underappreciated. The workability loop is one of the most straightforward ways to create a multi-layered IP defense. The workability loop requires more novelty, and hence layers of defense come naturally. Many inventors think about dependent claims here. Clever inventors devise new independent claims. Number 2, and generally overlooked, the workability loop creates opportunities to mentor minions. And here lies a new and central organizational purpose for the R&D group, a new flavor of teamwork. An organizing principle of the R&D organization should be to bestow the miracle of creation onto all minions. You might think that having all inventors and few minions would be a problem. It's not. Reduction to practice is a necessary and fun step. Inventors do not mind executing experiments, drafting, and other details required to reduce an idea to practice. In a virtuous cycle, the hands-on work stimulates still more miraculous creation. Let's return to the question of who drafts patent claims I first raised a few moments ago. The claim writer must understand 6 things. The first one is obvious. How does the invention work? Number 2, an easily circumvented claim is not worth much. The claim writer must be able to recognize how to circumvent the claims they're authoring. Sometimes one can just adjust the claim language. Sometimes more work is required. Notice that when more work is required, that just like the workability loop, this circumvention loop, while suffering the same effort burden, also enjoys the same 2 opportunities. Number 3, what tack is a competitor likely to take? Putting yourself in their shoes, into their paradigm, will help craft the invention and the claims. Number 4, the market determines the features of the price. A deep understanding of what customers desire provides contours on the claims. Number 5, patent law. I know many great patent lawyers, but I do not trust any of them to write my claims. I let them edit and improve the claims, but the first through third drafts are mine. And number 6, unless you are working on the next Manhattan project, the inventor should have the same view as the king of the castle. Inventors and strategists generally do not write claims. Fortunately, this is easy to fix. Get trained and then just do it. If you do not have a big picture view, a remedial effort is urgently required. Inventors may not be read into the big picture. This is easily fixed too. Fold the inventor into the strategic planning process. There are never enough inventors because level 9 cleverness is rare. To fix this, you need to recruit more inventors, and most importantly, mentor minions to 9+ cleverness. Neither of these are easy, but whichever firm is most successful in this quest wins. Hire as many inventors as you can, but you will never have enough without mentoring minions. Crossing the delineators that separate Steinbeck's build and extend practitioners and those who practice the miracle of creation is the secret sauce. Would you like to know what the most important of these delineators are? Here are three of the most important skills that separate inventors from practitioners. It's not enough to be able to recite a handful of cognitive biases. There are about 200. The inventor should be a student of them, and most importantly, be self-aware of when they are suffering their influence. We are all born with positive presumption, and then we become grown-ups, risk-averse, and set in our ways. The best inventors either never grew up or they rediscover the wonder of all creation despite society's demands of conformity and its relentless assault on our sense of wonder. I think all inventions are born of metaphor. I know that I spend much more of my time in metaphorical thought than the average engineer or scientist. It takes leadership in the C-suite and leadership in the R&D organization to make the transformation I have described. More products, better protection from competitors, all improve the top line. The foundation for this transformation is the mentoring of minions as an organizational principle of the R&D group. Growing your bench with those who can practice the miracle of creation will pay great dividends.